Hello, welcome back to Zach Talks Hawks. My name is Zach, and this is the place where we talk everything Seattle Seahawks football. Right before Thursday night, we just squeak in a Week 12 preview show right before we get a great matchup with Pittsburgh versus Cleveland tonight. I'm excited to talk to you about all the games this week, but specifically, I'm excited to talk to you about how the West will be won this week as the Arizona Cardinals come into town and play the Seattle Seahawks. Arizona, coming off of a bye week, find themselves in a situation that not many fans would think that they would be in at all this season. Many of us thought that the Cardinals, although they wouldn't be a pushover, they would be the ones at the bottom of this division trying to play spoiler as the year heads on. Well, guess what? We're at week 12 and the Cardinals are in the driver's seat for the NFC West, with this division seemingly changing hands and nobody actually wants to take it. Arizona's like, well, I guess it's mine now. And they are coming off of a bye week, had a strong 6-4 start, playing against the Seattle Seahawks, which starved away possibly eliminating any hopes of the playoffs last week against San Francisco. Geno Smith getting a huge win on the road. The Seahawks now go back home and are now going to play a recharged and refreshed Arizona team who know that if they win this game, they more than likely eliminate one of their NFC West foes down the stretch. Seattle would fall to 1-3. Yeah, I can't believe it either. 1-3 in divisional play, and that's a death wish if you're a team trying to make the playoffs. It looks like the West is going to have only one playoff team come out of it, so whoever's going to win this division is going to wind up being in the playoffs. So I'm excited to see what happens in this game. Let's talk about the keys to victory when it comes to the Seahawks playing the Arizona Cardinals. There's 3 takeaways I want to present to you today when it comes to beating Arizona. The first one will be neutralizing their running attack. A key detriment to Seattle's defense all year long has been their run defense. Now, I have to admit, coming out of the bye last week, when you had Byron Murphy fully healthy, fully integrated back into the fold, you had Cat Williams being able to, big Cat Williams being able to get in there and make his presence known. Boye Mafe as well. Those big guys up front played pretty well last week against the San Francisco 49ers, holding Christian McCaffrey, of all people, to under 100 yards. They're going to have to do it again. James Conner is on a roll this season, having a career year, and this Arizona strength finds itself in the running attack. I find Arizona to be a team that is sort of like an old school Seahawks team. You are opportunistic with your passing because, well, your running attack opens up your passing game, and defense, you do just enough to hang in the game, and you rely on the late game heroics of your quarterback. We don't normally play like that anymore, even though it all landed on Geno last week because, well, our running game is non-existent, and Geno is the NFL passer leader, I think, still, up until right now in Week 12, and the Seahawks look very different. But the Cardinals present to Seattle a very familiar face where they want to establish the run. I think in order for Seattle to make that happen, they have to be able to clamp down on this running attack, make Arizona one-dimensional, and show up in a big way. The second key to victory for Seattle, I think, will be their linebacking play. This team made some dramatic shifts during the bye week, ruffled some feathers, got in some bad news publicity, but Mike Macdonald, he's very stern. He knows what he wants out of his defense, and if you're not willing to produce under his scheme, you're out of here. Well, that's exactly what happened, and Seattle found themselves with a new starting core at linebacker, and admittedly, they played pretty well against San Francisco last week. Pass rush was able to get home well. They defended the pass very well. I noted last week that Seattle tackled very well against San Francisco. They're going to need more of that this week going up against Arizona, and I think they're going to have to be staunch defenders of the run this week. That has to be their number one priority as a linebacking unit. They have to show up. They have to tackle well and cause penetration in order to stifle this powerful Arizona offense. And then the third key to victory will lie upon Kenneth Walker this week. It is frustrating, but he really hasn't had a miraculous game this season. Kenneth Walker has shown bits and flashes of the man he can be, but not necessarily consistent at all in his NFL career. He's always been nicked. He's always been hurt. And this stretch, we are going to need to lean on him coming down the stretch. And we have learned from last week when it comes to leaning on Geno Smith, well, he can get it done in the clutch, but the road to get to the clutch moment is terrifying because Geno can sometimes make mistakes that scratch your head. A way to move about all that? Get Kenneth Walker involved. Get Zach Charbonnet involved. Commit to the run early. Make that a huge priority of your team. With Stone Forsythe out of the lineup finally, with the guys like Jarrell out of the lineup finally, and we're starting to see Abraham Lucas now take control of the right tackle spot, sort of frees up guys on the interior line to play with more confidence. We saw last week Seattle put in a new center. I thought he blocked pretty well. Ulu able to stand up there and play a big game. He got a game ball last week. I'm very curious to see how this offensive line, as these starters are coming back, as Ulu establishes himself as center, what is it going to mean for Seattle's running attack? And I know that's going to be a big part of this team's philosophy moving forward. And that's how you win games when the weather turns cold. You got to be able to crank it up a notch. I also heard Washington State got a ton of snow in the last few days. I'm over here in Pennsylvania, but they got a ton of snow in the last few games. Weather's going to play a big factor in this Sunday matchup between Arizona and Seattle. Not really anticipating snow or things like that when you go to the Pacific Northwest. You normally just anticipate rain, but it could be a chilly one, and that means you got to run the rock well. I'm looking for a big day out of Kenneth Walker and this rushing attack for the Seahawks to give Geno a break a little bit. My prediction for this game is I'm going to hope against hope. I've done that a few times here on the channel. Look, on paper, Arizona's rested. They're ready to go, and some would argue they are the better team. But if they get the good version of the Seattle Seahawks, I actually think Seattle's strengths match up well against this Arizona unit. You can start off quickly, put them in a hole, and they quickly become one-dimensional. And a Mike Macdonald defense really strives in that scenario. I think this is probably going to be, well, let's say a 10-point win. I think Seattle's going to take this one 24-14. In a week where the defense is finally going to show up again and say, hey, we're here to stay. A great mark of this defense last week against San Francisco is that they just bent and did not break. They just refused to do so last week. That is the mark of a Mike Macdonald defense, and we're finally seeing it in Seattle. Can they pull it off now against a team that's well rested? We'll see. But that's my prediction. Speaking of predictions, let's talk about Week 12 and my handy-dandy notepads right here. I'm ready to do some predictions with you. Chugging along here at 88 and 79 this year. I told you in the beginning of the year, if I went 500, I'd be okay. Let's hope we don't screw that up here down the stretch. But we got a great matchup tonight on Thursday Night Football. There's a tale of two teams here, but they hate each other. So Pittsburgh plays in Cleveland. All the storylines are off. This is just two football teams that hate each other. You're going to see an awesome game tonight. I think Pittsburgh's going to win. I think they are the better team. Watch out, though, for Pittsburgh struggling in the red zone. I saw a statistic earlier this week comparing Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in the red zone. Fields is far superior in terms of turning those opportunities into touchdowns. Could be a pitfall for Pittsburgh last week, especially when they didn't get into the end zone at all. They had to rely on the leg of their kicker. Might be windy tonight in Cleveland, but I'm still picking Pittsburgh to get the win. Moving on to our Sunday slate games, we have Tennessee going to Houston, who beat up on the Cowboys this past week. I think this is not a contest. I think this is a good get-right game for them. They're not really the team we expect them to be, but Tennessee's a mess right now, and I just don't think this is going to be a close game at all. Look for Stroud and the boys to have a good tune-up game against a far inferior opponent. It might be close for like a quarter and a half, but I don't think Houston's going to struggle with this one at all. Give me Houston. Minnesota goes on the road to Chicago as Chicago winds up licking their wounds once again, losing, I think, for the 11th straight time against the Green Bay Packers on a heartbreaking blocked field goal attempt. Yeesh, I thought our 0 for 5 with Geno against San Francisco was bad, but Chicago's licking their wounds coming out of this, and now they got to face the Minnesota Vikings with Sam Darnold. I'm really curious to know how Sam Darnold's going to continue his arc this season. I'm really rooting for him. I think the Vikings are a great story this season. But I actually think in my upset of the week, Chicago is going to get this win. It's at home. They're coming off of a crushing loss to Green Bay. But I actually think their confidence is now pretty high in Caleb Williams. He was able to stick with the big brother division. You can surely go out here and beat Minnesota. I'm going to take Chicago to win this one, maybe on a last-second field goal. Maybe they redeem themselves this week. Dallas limps to Washington to play the Commanders. Look, this game ain't going to be close. Cooper Rush is starting for the Dallas Cowboys. It's not a good squad at all. Dallas, what are you doing? They are in a race to finish the season. There's not a lot of good to say about the Dallas Cowboys, and they are going to square off against a team that, admittedly, for the first time in a long time, has a lot of hope behind them in order to win this division. This is a must-win game, I think, for Washington. They got to get it done. I believe in their coach. I believe in their staff. I think Washington's going to get it done at home. New England travels to Miami in a divisional matchup as well. Not a lot to be said around here. Looks like Drake May's the answer in New England, so that's pretty good. But other than that, I think Miami's, again, a lot of matchups here that are lopsided here in the early slate. I think Miami's just too talented. I'm fairly certain they get it done. I don't think Tua is really going to struggle against this New England defense. It's just not really a great matchup for New England. They're looking forward to next year in order to restock and retool to try to challenge for this division. Kansas City, no longer undefeated. Oh, this is going to be the blowout of the week. Going to Carolina to play the hapless Panthers. I am so sorry for what Patrick Mahomes is about to do to you, Carolina, but listen, he was defeated for the first time this season, and now they get the perfect game to just play all their trick plays and just dance all over your grave. Carolina's a terrible team. They're a dumpster fire. Kansas City is still the two-time defending champs. They just, even though a lot would argue that their undefeated season's not created equal, they just became defeated. This is going to be a huge blowout, like Detroit versus Jacksonville kind of blowout. I'd take Kansas City every day of the week in this matchup against Carolina. Tampa Bay travels to the New York Giants, who are fielding, Tommy DeVito. Yeah, Tommy DeVito is going to be starting. Us Seahawks fans, I know we were rooting for Drew Lock to get a shot, but Giants don't want to mess up a good tank. They know that Drew Lock gives them the best opportunity to win out of that quarterback room. That's why he got skipped over, and they're playing a third to fourth string quarterback. New York wants to lose this game. I think Tampa Bay, they're still fighting for a playoff spot in their division. Their division, like ours, is sort of up for grabs. Even with two down starting wide receivers, Baker Mayfield's still good enough to get this done. I believe in Tampa Bay. They're going to beat the Giants, who actually don't want to win this game. And I guess everybody's happy that Tommy DeVito gets a start. So you can tune into that game. An interesting sneaky game is the one that I want to cover here. Detroit going on the road to Indianapolis. Richardson, getting the nod this past week, was able to, be well rested and come back and play pretty well with the Colts this past week. They're going up against the Lions, who absolutely destroyed the Jacksonville Jaguars this past week. I still think Detroit's the better club, but I wouldn't be surprised if Indy gave them everything they could possibly handle. Indy's like a sneaky good team. If they put it all together on any given week, they can hang with anybody. And I got a feeling this is going to be one of those games, but I do believe in Detroit and what they're doing up there. Give me the Lions getting the win against the Colts. Denver, who now is a good football team, I guess, playing against the Fighting Gardner Minshews in the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. I believe in Bo Nix and this crazy ride that the Denver Broncos are on now. So I'm really excited to see them have another opportunity to get a crack at these divisional opponents again. I'm excited to see the difference in Nix's game as he faces teams that he now played against before. He has another opportunity to go at them. I think this team's got some good mojo going on. Give me Denver on the road in Las Vegas. I already told you my Arizona at Seattle prediction, so keep on moving to a matchup that we are used to seeing in the playoffs. San Francisco goes on the road to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field and played the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love's trying his best to show us that he is the second coming of Brett Favre. This team is ride or die with Jordan Love right now. I really thought that at the end of last year, he had a good head on his shoulders and he wasn't going to be the kind of quarterback that Favre was. But man, if this season has shown us anything, it is Jordan Love's got that attitude of I'm just going to throw it down there and see what happens. I think interceptions might plague this game for him, but in all honesty, I think home field advantage is going to play into this matchup. I don't think there's going to be very good weather in Green Bay this weekend as well. I don't think San Fran travels well. I think if there is snow, if this is the first real cold game for Green Bay of the year, you're going to have a lot of mojo down there. I'm going to take Green Bay to get the win against San Francisco in what is probably my game of the week. These teams really don't like each other, and it's going to be cool to watch this game. Philly goes on the road and plays the Los Angeles Rams. This is a cross-country trip for Philadelphia, going to a place where, well, it's never really an away game for teams that are away because the Rams have a lot of trouble packing their stadium with fans. But the Rams, much like the Seahawks, much like the 49ers, are looking around wondering who is going to take this division. Right now, it's Arizona. The Rams have a lot to play for, but Philly's on a little bit of a roll. I've said on this channel before, I don't believe in the Eagles. I just don't think they're a very good team. I just don't see it. But at the end of the day, they have Saquon Barkley, and that's something that the Rams have struggled with this season is run defense and making sure that assignments are getting plugged up at the line of scrimmage. Watch for Barkley to have a big day. I think Philadelphia is going to win this one, and they go across the country and snag the win in Los Angeles. Monday Night Football presents for us Baltimore at the LA Chargers. This is the Harbaugh Bowl. I'm excited for this game. I don't think it's the game of the week. I really think San Francisco and Green Bay is really going to be a barn burner. I'm going to tune into that game. I'm not going to miss that one. But this game's pretty close behind it. You got the two brothers playing each other. I always love this storyline. I think it's really neat. Baltimore's coming off of a performance where we're left scratching our heads wondering why they don't trust Derrick Henry, of all people, on a two-point conversion. And they're playing against the Chargers, who now suddenly everybody is starting to believe in because I guess beating the Bengals nowadays is a mark of you got your stuff together, even though you tried to blow the game multiple times in the fourth quarter. I just think Baltimore's the better team. I'm going to go with Baltimore here for my Monday Night Football pick and give me the Ravens going cross-country and snagging a win. Two bird teams having to travel to Los Angeles to get the wins there on the end of the schedule. Well, those are my picks, and I think we're done talking Hawks for now. Can't wait to recap for you, hopefully a Seattle win against Arizona. And until we meet again, my name is Zach. Keep talking Hawks, and I'll talk to you again here real soon.